Hey YouTubers, it's Scotty here. If you've seen those ads on eBay and Amazon for cheap carbon fibre tripod kits, then like me you've probably thought, well, they're just probably a piece of junk and not worth even spending $50 or $60 on. Just recently I had a need for a general purpose tripod, so I thought to myself, it's only $60, how about I give it a try? So I did. So this is the cheap Chinese carbon fibre tripod I bought on eBay. I've since put it through its paces and I can now give you a detailed review and answer that question. Are these tripods really worth it? The basic specs for this tripod are a max height of 178 centimeters and a max load of 14 kilograms. I've included links in the description. First thing when I opened the box, I found the tripod was already within a bag, and I actually didn't realize it was coming with the bag. And the bag itself is actually quite well constructed. It's very tough, sort of nylon or polyester, anti-abrasion sort of material. It's got reflective stripes around the side and in the piping, and the actual zipper itself is very robust. It's a really heavy sort of zipper, so it's something that you think won't break down in any. It's definitely over-engineered, so that's a good thing. That's a positive. And the fact that I didn't think I was going to get a bag was, well, maybe I just didn't read the ad properly, but yeah, that was a nice surprise. It's got a shoulder strap, so if you're just doing a bit of a day hike, then it could be useful. The other positive is it's actually got padding around the outside. You know, you'd have to be really abusing your gear to require that padding to do some work. But you know, if you're in a production environment and you're throwing things around in the back of vans and whatnot, and other people are taking care of them, they're maybe not taking the same kind of care you would with your gear, it's actually a pretty good thing to have. When I opened up the bag, the tripod and head was all mounted. Now it's a standard inverted tripod, so that is when it's folded away, the actual head of the tripod sits between the legs. I really like the inversion tripods because they are a lot more versatile than the old style tripods. For instance, if you're taking a macro shot, you can invert the head and get very close to the ground. As a general purpose tripod, it gives me a lot of versatility, and that's what I wanted in this tripod. You can set different angles, for instance, when you have to bridge across a stream or have extremely uneven ground, typically the kind that you'll find out in the wilderness or even on some locations. It can be adjusted to 3 different leg angles, from the standard 30 degrees to about 45 degrees and to a very wide 75 degrees, as you can see here. The tripod legs weigh 1170 grams, which is lighter than many similar sized carbon fibre tripods. Now when I extended the legs on the tripod, the poles smoothly slide out, and all it takes is a half turn to lock them down solid. I was kind of surprised at how rigid they were. I thought there's going to be some corners cut in the production of whatever. It's not going to be as rigid. The joints are just something less robust. They held firm, as you can see, under a fair amount of weight, definitely far more than what it's rated at. It held its own really well. As far as its strength and robustness, I'm really impressed. I did a slight flexing test, and I put a fair amount of weight onto that pole, and it does flex, of course. I mean, but it's not designed to take that kind of weight typically, but it's pretty good. It's much better than a comparable alloy tripod for stiffness, stability and strength. And it's on par with many far more expensive carbon fibre tripods. You might be in adverse conditions out in the environment, hiking or outside shoot. You don't want your tripod to be flailing around in the breeze. The tripod is super stable, but in windy conditions, or for instance on long exposures, you can make it even more stable by using the spring-loaded hook to attach some extra weight underneath. If you're not shooting on flat, hard surfaces, then you can retract the rubber feet to reveal spikes that are great for holding on ground or carpet. Now let's get to the head. Now, these are a finely tuned piece of engineering on these ball heads. So I thought maybe it won't be able to hold the ball very effectively, or it won't be very smooth moving it about. It won't be easy to hold under just a light amount of friction, so you can move it without the camera flopping over on one side or the other. But after quite a bit of use, I've been able to determine whether any of these concerns are valid. It has a panning motion, and you can adjust the amount of tension in the pan, and it almost feels like a fluid head video tripod. It's that smooth. I mean, I've used some cheap video tripods, and this is actually better than some of them. That's real positive because you've got a head that's not a typical video head, but for most panning shots, it does a great job. The other real positive is the ball head itself. The ball is is perfectly smooth, and obviously the internal cup that it sits in is perfectly smooth as well. And you have the ability to finally control the amount of tension on that ball, which is brilliant because I can set it. I don't have to crank it down, worried that my expensive piece of glass is going to go flopping forward and smash on the tripod. I've got full confidence that it will hold and it will not let go, even in trying like windy conditions. And you can adjust the friction back on this ball head so that you can do not just panning from side to side, but you can actually do tilt up and down, beautiful smooth tilts. So now you've got something that you can, at a pinch, you could pan with and you can tilt with. So it's actually a really good all-round tripod head. Now the detachable mount is Arca Swiss style, and as you can see here, it has a push button safety catch. The pin is all metal, but can sometimes be a little tricky, as you can see. Maybe it needs some oil. But it does work to stop your camera accidentally sliding off. Now the weight is 400 grams, so it's not for ultralight hiking, but for the serious photographer, the head's features far outweigh its weight. You may have seen on other inverted tripods that one of the legs can be taken off to be used as a monopod, and the same is true with this tripod, which is fantastic. It's got a nice foam sort of grip on the third leg, the one that you take off. You can just leave the other two legs and the heavy tripod head at home if you want to go lightweight, and you can take just the monopod and maybe use another much more lightweight ball head. Like I've got a small little slick ball head, and with the monopod leg by itself plus the ball head, it's going to weigh in at around about I think about 400 grams. So that's a pretty nice little lightweight package, and it comes up to a reasonable height as well. So you will have to bend over a little bit, but depending on your height, of course. Knowing what I now know about this tripod, I would have probably been happy to spend $100 on this tripod and ball head combination. So it's a good deal. So if you are in need of a general purpose tripod, or just simply a backup tripod, I use this. I've used this a number of times already. I've used it as a second tripod in a slider arrangement. I've used it as a monopod. I've used it as a B cam for extra footage. Yeah, it's really, filled a niche that, look, admittedly, I could have probably made do with some other tripod, but all in all, I get good value out of this package, and it's going to suit me really well for years to come. So by all means, go out and buy one of these. They're good value, and I highly recommend this tripod.